Hello everyone. So, this is my first Facebook Live video. I'm excited. I'm not quite sure. I was just trying to do this live using my computer, but it's telling me the computer is not right. So I'm using my phone. Try another way to go live during your broadcast. Not sure what that means. Okay, so let me just tag a few people and wait a couple minutes, and then I'll get started. All right. I'm wondering how I can see when someone joins. Guest requests. Okay, that's on. All right. So I'll just give it another minute. I hope you guys all had a great day today. It's Monday. Happy Monday. Yay for Monday. I know Monday is not always our favorite day of the week, but here we are on Monday. So just give it another 30 seconds and then I'll just start and see where this all goes. I'm excited. Last week is when I decided to create this new group. I am excited to see and learn how it's going to support the members on their healing journeys. All right, so hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to save this at the end so that you all can watch it at your leisure. Maybe 6 o'clock is a bit busy for people, I'm not sure. So I think I'm gonna take a survey about that for next time. So anyway, all right, so today I want to talk to you guys. I was originally going to speak about something else in terms of healing and our healing journeys, but last week, my wrist got into a situationship, so to speak, with the marble stairs. No worries, the marble stairs are absolutely fine. Wrist, well, here it is. So I started thinking about this and thought it might be worth chatting with you all about for a little bit tonight because one of the things that I think about, and it was also something, so there's no judgment, it was also something that I had an issue with as well for myself, was like, I don't have time. I don't have time to stop doing what I'm doing and, you know, take care of some of the things that I am hurting over. And then we can go years, right? Without ever taking care of them. But when it's a physical wound like this, when my wrist started swelling up and I had no other option but to have someone look at it, I was thinking about like how when something physical happens, we're a lot quicker to go and take care of that. And it is what it is, right? The physical, we see it, it's obvious, and the interior, the pain that we have inside, right? That is a little bit easier to hide it from ourselves so that we don't have to deal with it, and also to hide it from other people. So I wanted to just talk about this because I think that it's a good metaphor for sometimes how we go through life. We tend to hide from ourselves, like I said, sometimes for years, and then we end up especially as Christians, kind of, oh, I see someone joined, but I don't know how to see who it is. I'm not sure how to work this Facebook Live thing yet. Hi, welcome, whoever you are. Can I see it this way? No idea. So I think that it's easy for us to, like I was saying, as Christians, like hide behind slogans like blessed and highly favored and all sorts of church lingo. If you've ever been to church, you know these things. And in reality, we're not. In reality, this is like a lie, but it's hidden versus something obvious with a physical wound. Can't hide it. So I wanted to just ask a few questions to get you to think about if you are in a mode of like coping and functioning and hiding from yourself, or if you're really in like a mode of flourishing and thriving. So the first thing that I noticed about basically what happened is I fell down the stairs at work and my wrist took the brunt of it, right? And I initially wanted to just go ahead and continue on with my day, but I stopped because I had no other choice of the pain and had it taken care of. So one thing is, are you ignoring the pain that you yourself are going through, or have you stopped to take a moment and just take a break? I know that we're all in different situations. Some of us have families, some of us have small businesses to run in addition to full-time jobs and marriages and just, being a daughter or a son. But have you taken just a time out every once in a while, even if it's just like 20 minutes for the day, just to take a moment and to rest? Because that's pretty much what I had to do and I've been doing, is just kind of resting. The next thing that I wanted to kind of talk to you about, and I noticed because I really only have one hand at the moment that I can use, I've been adapting, right? I've come up with like creative ways to like crouch down and like hold a glass in between my knees and then pour water into that cup. So, very creative, right? It's great for the time that it is, but if I am still doing this a year later, a year from now, that's not going to be so cool. So this is my next question. Are there things that you are, and I don't mean it with judgment at all because I've also done this too, but are there things that you have learned to do, ways you have started adapting to after a situation happened? It could be like the death of a parent, a breakup in a marriage or a relationship. It could be unemployment. It could be whatever that happens to be. It could be a sexual assault. It could be a betrayal by a friend, right? Having someone stab you in the back. But are those things that hurt you, have you adapted to them? And are you doing like kind of unusual creative ways to kind of like get around the pain? So things like, you might be like, well, what are you talking about? Things like perfectionism, right? Trying to prove yourself by doing, things perfectly. So this was definitely me in a healing process, always trying to get things right and perfect as a way to, prove that I still had worth after some situations that I went through. But it's not, these adaptations that we come up with are not meant to be something that happens for a long time. Things like using substances. And you may not even realize it, but these are, different things that maybe are habits that we don't realize we are doing. So what types of coping strategies are you using? And if you are not using them, then that means that, you know, you've come a really long way on your healing journey. So these questions are meant to kind of figure out where you are on your healing journey. Are you at the beginning where you're kind of like curled up and trying to protect yourself, or are you, you know, out further along and you're able to, you know, move around easily? Also, I wanted to talk about how to... So one thing that I noticed is that when I am only having one hand, it's dangerous for my dishes, right? I am not able to hold on to dishes with both hands. So this means that I had to go to Target and buy paper plates, cups, plastic cups, right? Because I'm not trying to lose my dishes. Thinking about that, are there times that you feel so wounded that you are afraid to do certain things, right? So for me, for example, at the beginning of my healing journey, I was afraid to really, I'm naturally an extrovert, right? I like to talk to people, I like to meet new people, but I was feeling like other people were dangerous to me. So I was hiding from people because I didn't want to be hurt again, and I didn't want other people to see me having been hurt. So for like a little bit, I was in hiding. I was not really going out, and I wasn't doing things as much. So is this, you know, something that you are, is there some activity or something that you're avoiding because of that fear that it might be dangerous for you? And then where are you on that range? That will kind of give you an idea of where you are on the healing journey. So if you are hiding from things, then you're really kind of still at the beginning, right? But if again, like I said earlier, if you're out there and you're moving along and you're not moving in fear, then, you know, that's a good sign that you are moving in the right direction with your healing. I made some notes. So, okay. So another thing that I've realized, and I knew it from before with the emotional aspect, but the physical aspect kind of brought it all back to me, is that pain can be exhausting. I feel like, you know, I want to sleep a little bit longer. Like my body wants that rest. Even though it's just my wrist, it seems like it affected the whole thing, my whole body. So thinking about in terms of healing after trauma or heartbreak, is it exhausting? How are you feeling? Are you feeling more exhausted after doing, you know, simple activities that you used to enjoy or being around people? Or are you feeling, you know, well rested? A lot of times exhaustion, when we're constantly like feeling like we're dragging or down, you know, like we're always wanting to take naps, or we feel like we can't get enough rest. That's kind of a sign that there's some part of us emotionally that is in need of attention. It's in need of care. It's in need of a little self-love. And going back to my earlier example of people, this was also something that I realized. I like people. Usually I find being around people energizing. To be around people was exhausting for me for a period of time, because I just, you know, was kind of like trying to hide everything that was going on with me. But it may not even be just with people and relationships that there's exhaustion felt. It could be just like all over with the work, with hobbies that we once enjoyed doing, whatever it is. If there's like this constant prolonged feeling of fatigue and exhaustion, it's really a sign that we need to pay attention to ourselves, give ourselves a little more self-care, a little more self-love, try to figure out what is causing and what we're pushing aside in our lives that would be causing us to feel so exhausted. Like, what happened here? Why am I so tired? I think that there's like these metaphors of like push through the pain, or I'll sleep when I'm dead, or different things, but really they're not the wisest things for our healing and for our mental health, for our self-care. We should be paying attention to how our body is feeling and how it is responding to us. What messages is it signaling to us? Okay, so another thing is that with my wrist, right? I don't really get to move it a lot. I can move it a little bit. It's gotten better over the past few days, but my mobility is kind of stiff, right? So this is kind of another sign. It's not necessarily, you know, this could just even be like, sorry, I got distracted by a notification on the top of my cell phone. So sometimes in life we get feeling like we're stuck in a rut and we're like, why can't I get moving forward? Why can't I make this thing work? Why is this not moving for me? Why is this not happening for me? And it could be a sign that God is using to try to tell us like, hi, human, take a moment, take a break. Let's look at a few things in our lives, in your life, and figure out why this feeling of being stuck is happening, why it feels like progression in our life is not happening. This may not be because of trauma or heartbreak or anything. There could be many reasons for it. You know, maybe something is just not meant to be. It could be that simple. But also sometimes when we are in need of healing and we need to take a time out and rest, things do not move right. If my wrist moved right, I'd be moving it. I'd be doing all sorts of different things like I normally do, right? But it's not. It needs a timeout. It needs to rest. Otherwise, it's not going to heal. So this can be a sign that we need to just kind of slow down and take some time to reflect on what's going on with us and, you know, where this is all coming from so we can get to the root of it. And another thing is that it has to be treated no matter what our schedules look like. And like I said, I know we're all in different situations. It has to be treated, and it has to be treated properly. So in terms of my wrist, right, like I've been doing some treatments for it. I've been rubbing some arnica oil on it. I've been icing it. I've been trying to keep it comfortable. I sleep with this little brace on so that I don't, you know, do something awkward to it. And tomorrow I have an appointment to have a specialist give me a second opinion. And just to re-x-ray it to make sure everything is really going to be okay with it and it doesn't need any extra attention, right? So sometimes we need to, you know, have a second opinion with what's going on with us, you know. We may not understand what's going on with us. We may not understand, for example, like I'm feeling so exhausted all the time. I'm feeling so disinterested in like things. I'm doing awkward, weird things to kind of like compensate for other areas of my life, right? Get a second opinion. It could be with a friend that you trust. It could be reaching out to a coach. It could be contacting, someone who is a therapist. It could be just doing some research online to look up some things that, thoughts or experiences that we have been going through. But getting a second opinion so that we can treat whatever is going on inside of us, the right way and begin to heal or continue on our healing journey. Because sometimes, something happens in our lives that's a crisis or traumatic, surprises us, right? And we spend time and we work through those things, right? But then maybe like a year or two later, something will happen and that will trigger, old feelings, old emotions that we had before. So even at all different levels or all different places and points in our healing journey, there's always room and it's always wise to have a second opinion, someone who you can trust, who you can reach out to. So I recently added a guide in our Facebook group. It is called, it's a directory. Forget exactly what I titled it now, but it's a directory. It has a resource for the number for the suicide hotline. Also, it has a couple websites and information on different therapists. So if anyone is looking for a second opinion, they could use that as a resource to support them with finding a second opinion on, whatever in life is happening to bother you at this particular time. So I think those were the main points that I wanted to touch on for today. Oh, I forgot one more. Driving. So driving. I have a 5-speed, so it's kind of awkward for me to drive this 5-speed, right? I can drive it with one hand, kind of ish. I'm not going to be taking any road trips with it because I don't think it's like really safe to go very far being only able to use one hand on the wheel. So thinking about driving as a metaphor in our lives, where is it that we're trying to get to, but we're having trouble getting there because we can't do it for whatever reason. It could be fear, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be even things like anger. Anger is definitely a very common reaction, anger and frustration. And then, when we're doing that, we kind of almost get in our own way and it almost becomes self-sabotaging, and it makes it a little bit hard for us to, go the places that we want to go in life at the speed we want to get there, because we have these different emotions that are kind of driving us in different directions and like kind of sidetracking us onto like these little detours, so to speak. So, yes, I would say that this was also another lesson that I learned from my recent situationship with the marble stairs. It's funny how the accident, has gotten me to think about, the different things that can happen to us when we are hurt and how those things all need attention in their own ways. So I hope this video will, give you something to think about. And You know, it's a process, and we all are, you know, having our own unique way of navigating it, so to speak, to continue with the driving metaphor. But really the importance is to kind of, you know, just reflect on where you are at this point in time with your healing and in your journey. And then once we know where we're at, we can kind of, you know, figure out where we need to go, right? So at this moment, I know, you know, based on my physical discomfort, the pain and the stiffness, right? I know where I need to go next, a specialist, to have the wrist re-examined, and hopefully it will just show the same thing as the original x-ray, and it just will need more time to heal as like a sprain. But yes, so take these thoughts to think about where you're at and in the process, in your journey, and then knowing where we're at is really kind of, I think, in my opinion, based on my experience, because I'm not a you know, psychologist, I'm not a therapist, I'm literally a woman who has walked through the experience of healing after a traumatic event and then a heartbreak, you know, so I speak on experience. But I feel that knowing where we are is really the most important first step, and that acknowledgement, you know, because when we know where we're at in life, and we know where we're at emotionally, we know where we're at, you know, spiritually or whatever, and we're not just, you know, throwing slogans around just because they sound good. When we really sit down, think about where we're at, acknowledge where we're at, then we can like begin to move forward. But when we don't really know where we're at, it's really hard to figure out what to do next. And that is how, you know, at least in my case, because, you know, I wasn't trying to sit down. I wasn't even trying to sit down, like, forget like this wrist, right? I if I could have it, I would have just continued about my day. But even in my own, you know, healing journey after rape, I wasn't trying to sit down and figure out where I was at. I was just trying to, you know, rush through things, and it wasn't good because I didn't know where I was at. You know, I was dangerous to myself. I made, you know, I wasn't in a good place emotionally. But once I sat down and figured out this is where I'm at, I'm really in pain, and I'm really hurt, and I was like honest and figured out exactly where I was, which was a hot mess, I could then begin to unravel just like step by step. And that's the thing. It is step by step. It is day by day. Even once we are, you know, well along the way and have a lot of tools that we can use, it is a step by step. But I just want to encourage you that, you know, once you figure out where you're at, you know, there is going to be good things that come after that for you. And so with that, I am going to end this live. I think if I hit this finish button, it will work, right?